Although they did start working with the Beals revolver in the year of 1856, it would not be the same as what you think of the Remington New Model Army today.
And if you're like me, you're into the history stuff, the books, like the guns are worth their weight in gold. Because the gun, it's fun to shoot, it's fun to point with, but without the story there, if you're a history person like I am, without the story, it really doesn't mean all that
The Ruger Security 9.
Can I redraw?
You already looked?
No.
You sure
Right.
you didn't?
Now on 3.
Another pro, at least a pro to me, is these guns are kind of a project. I like to look at them as I'm getting an advanced kit build in the mail whenever I get one. So it's a project that you can go down the road and you can either leave it as
Most people believe that the Walker was Colt's first extent to a very, very large pistol, but it wasn't. This was. This is Colt's 1839 patent firearms revolving carbine pistol. It is massive.
Your mic's off.
Oh, your mic's off there, Garrett. Hi, everybody.
I was just hollering about how you took my spot. Thank you very much. Anyway. Sorry we're late, guys. I was out here trying to get pictures from the movie, and I think I got one. So they didn't all exactly show up the way I wanted, but we got a couple anyway. And so anyway, this is something we started doing a year ago. And I can't remember which of you two it was. One of the two of you said we should try it again without using the movie, though, so we don't get copyright whacked.
Probably
So
both.
Probably a little
anyway,
bit both, yeah.
we Sheldon and I were texting back and forth. You know, what movie would we like to do? We would do one of these ever so often, and I just kind of came to mind. We were running through older movies, and Windwalker from 1980, I think, came to my mind. It was one of my one of my grandma's movies, and my sister really liked it. And I remember just as a little kid thinking this was like Home Alone, but for real. Like what
I
would
actually
really
had that
happen.
same thought at the end of the Home Alone part. I actually
Yep.
thought that same part.
So, Sheldon, when was the first time you've seen this? Is this a movie from your childhood?
I saw it in high school. A lot of the time I just watch older movies with my dad. And he's like, "Oh, you'd like this one? And it's about natives." And he told me like a little bit of the plot. So I was like, "Yeah, I can watch it."
Yeah.
I can tolerate a lot. I can tolerate a lot of movies, except when it comes to being too campy or John
Mhm.
Wayne.
We're if we do this once Duke gets back, we're gonna have to do the Searchers, and you're gonna have to watch it. It will be a good.
Well, I heard that's one of his better ones. So.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's good.
So yeah, this is the first time you've seen this, huh, Snapper?
Oh, I've watched it my whole life since this morning. No, I saw it this morning for the very first time. I've never heard of it till this morning. And yeah, actually, I couldn't sleep last night, so I was like, well, time to watch it. And it's a pretty good movie. I can't complain.
Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't put it in the tier of best native or Western movies ever, but it's good. It's good.
It's a good, wholesome movie.
I would say that if you watch Jeremiah Johnson, this is a good one to follow it up because they feel like the same setting. They look like they're filmed in the same locations, and
Yeah.
it's just really I enjoy it. I hadn't seen it in, like I said, over 20 years probably, And going into it with a little more knowledge now than, of course, I did as a kid, I could really appreciate some of the things that we're going to discuss about this movie. And for any of you that don't know, the movie we're talking about tonight is the 1980 movie Windwalker. And I really don't know anything about any of the people that star in it. There's one big name, but I can't even. Terrence Howard, is that his name?
I think so.
Yeah, and it's just no big names really. Maybe in the native world, but I think most of them are white actors. If you
I'd say that was my first thought when I saw this. Was like, why does every main actor look like a white guy with a lot of makeup?
Because they were. I think the only
because they were. I mean, I figured that's what it. Because it looked like the
women.
The kids were definitely native. The women were definitely native. But it's like the two main males. You know, the main characters. They were just white with a lot of makeup.
Yep.
Yeah.
And by the way,
I remember the old commercial of the Indian that's on the side of the road and trash flies by him.
Well, it's better than that. I feel like it's better than that.
Oh, Iron Eyes.
Yeah,
Iron Eyes.
Isn't he like Italian or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sopranos were excited to find out about that.
I mean, it shows you how close the Sicilians and natives are, because I remember reading about this one World War II veteran. He was a full blood, and when he was in the service, and when they landed in Italy, he found a pair of farmer's clothes and threw them on and was walking with the rest of them. The Germans didn't think he was American.
That's crazy.
Jake Lovell said it was Trevor Howard and James Remar is an actor I know. Yeah, one of them was the dad from Dexter.
One thing I like about the movie is, besides the narration, it's all Crow and Cheyenne.
Yeah,
I don't speak any of them, but I can I know I don't know much, but I can tell that they're Crow and Cheyenne because I live in the area, and Cheyenne has to me a lot of pauses.
It does. I was going to ask you. I knew you probably didn't speak either language, but if it sounded authentic.
From what I understood, yes, because a few times on YouTube I would wonder how Crow sounds, and they have whole Bible passages in Crow on YouTube, and I was there listening, and I was like, yeah, we should be towards the end of it. Looking, we're still in the middle. Like,
this is like they talk really slow.
Well, that's very interesting because, and I actually made a list of notes here, and I sent them to Sheldon a little bit ago. But just thoughts on the situation, which I have to commend them. It feels like you're watching something like Apocalypto. It makes you feel really smart because you have to read the subtitles.
Yeah.
Even though if it is or not, but I enjoyed that. There is a little bit of English in it when Windwalker, of course, narrates for himself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if maybe Trevor Howard couldn't get the language or what, because he narrates all his stuff in English, and it's kind of jarring.
I think it was just more for the audience.
Yeah.
Just so the audience doesn't feel too alienated.
Yeah. So. It very well could be.
My favorite too is the 1980s style, light behind the person with the smoke. Towards the end, the girl. It's that looks like every 1980s rock music video ever.
Yeah, it does. Some of that is a little bit dated, which to me, an 80s movie is not an old movie because that's like a new movie for me from what I grew up watching with John Wayne's and stuff. But at the same time, I really enjoy it. Like I said, it really has that Jeremiah Johnson feel to it.
Mm-hmm. It does.
The only thing it lacks of Jeremiah Johnson is the big name actors. But they also, and I got to give them credit for this, they picked an awesome time to tell this story because, and this is something I wanted to ask you, Sheldon. They present it it's set in 1797. And it's set in the what I would assume is Wyoming, Montana area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they present it as no contact yet to any extent with Europeans.
Yeah, I think at that time it would have been really rare to even see a white person, and if you've seen one, and if you've seen one, it would have been just a rarity.
Yeah.
Because at that point, those tribes were really not uncontacted, but they were,
Well, I know at the time the Blackfeet were already trading with the Hudson Bay Company for firearms. So,
according to, I think it's George. It's one of the Bent brothers. He was like a historian for a Cheyenne later. I think it was George Bent Jr. Anyway, he says in like the early 1700s is when the Cheyennes first got their metallic, like a first iron knife gun, stuff like that. So it would still been common for him for a lot of the tribes to still be using their non-trade goods.
Yeah.
So.
And I felt like they could have included a gun, but at the same time, I kind of saw what they were going for.
Yeah.
Even if it's set in 1797, they're going for that holistic feel, which I can appreciate because every Western, is about the struggle of Europeans and natives. And but this is one of the few where that's not the point of the story. The story is just survival. Yeah. It's very apocalypto, and if you guys have seen that movie, it's very much like that. It's kind of weird.
And you have to also remember is that a lot of, like Hudson Bay, a lot of them did kind of use the rivers to get to where they were going. So, I mean, I don't know if there's any rivers that go from Hudson Bay to, like, Canada, like to Montana to that part of Canada. Can't remember which province it is. But yeah, it was like, I mean, they could have just walked it too. But the trading and the native trade, because said that the Cheyennes, when they first got their like guns and knives and stuff, they got it off a dead Assiniboine that they killed. So, so there was trade going on, but
just not that common.
Yeah,
it's
I'm kind of curious to see what at that time when they did come across, say, like knives, guns, whatever. Would it have been taboo to use it? Or would they have been like, oh, this is amazing, I'm just going to take it, use it? Would there have been people like the elders saying, hey, you shouldn't touch that, shouldn't use that? It's,
I think there's
lack of a better word, bad magic or something.
I think there's always going to be something like that with people because, like, you always have, this ain't going to be no political thing. It's just the words, but the conservatives that, say we shouldn't be doing this because it's not known for us.
Right, we should be doing what we've always done, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's not traditional.
Yeah.
No, I'm not Cheyenne.
Sorry. Let's go through the comments right quick. Diane Houston was early, and like I said, guys, sorry I was so late, but she said, "Good evening, Garrett. Your video on Sunday was informative. Great job. Thank you very much." Gunsmith 4570 said, "Good evening, everyone. All kinds of great information on Sunday. Thank you once again." Louisiana Gray said, "Good evening, all." AR Americans in says, "Good evening." Hi, AR. Chris Klein said, "Hello, everyone." Kodak Tackman's in says, "Evening, all." Jeremy P said, "Hi, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. Spectacular video on the trapdoor." Thank you very much, Jeremy. Texted in 1836 said, "Good evening, all." Tony Salma, said, "Good to see you guys tonight." Byland and Sieg, "Hi, Doc." Said, "Evening, everyone." AR American said, "Wow, Snapper is still alive."
Hey, the rumors of my death were only slightly exaggerated. That's all I have to say.
Jolly Jake Level said it was Trevor Howard. James Romero is an actor I know. Texan 1836 said, "I saw it in theater with my parents when I was 8 years old." That's cool.
Oh, wow.
Jolly Jake Level said, "A good movie with Ramar is called Quiet Cool." Todd B said, "What state is Sheldon in? He's in a good state of mind." I guess if he wants to tell you that, he can. David W. said, "Good evening, fellas." Todd B. said, "Is Sheldon Cheyenne?" Well, I'll let Sheldon adjust that. Kevin Conway said, "Hey, y'all. Are you Cheyenne, Sheldon?
Nope.
Are you Prairie Apache, Kiowa?"
Nope, none of them guys. Man, they could have been, anytime I seen them, it could have been a, "Hey, how's your day?" It's always that. He's one of the old ones that, when he got into his character, that was it.
Yep, he was in character and he wasn't coming back out.
Mm-hmm.
You were not getting your annuities after he went into character.
Right.
So anyway, back to the movie. It's a good show. Windwalker, set in 1797, Cheyenne, up in the northern up in the northern river country, up in Wyoming, Montana, as far as I believe.
Yeah,
Set
probably
around the
is.
story of an old man who is remembering his younger days, had a wife, set of twins, and lost one of the twins to the crow. And what is with the 1970s and 80s, the enemy in all Hollywood movies being the crow? You guys watch Jeremiah Johnson?
Yeah.
Watch this. They don't like the crow.
It's always a guy with like missing one eye too, with a scar on his face. He's always the bad guy. That's how you always spot the bad guy back then. It's just look for somebody with a scar on their face or missing an eye.
Well, I would say that was to set him apart, but
Yeah.
his makeup alone.
Yeah,
Was
his makeup
so
alone
good.
set him apart.
Wow, it was so good. His paint. Would you call that paint or makeup?
Both.
He's a. Let me see. I actually have a picture of him here, and this is the bad guy in the story, and we're getting ahead, but I just love this picture. Look at this, the black and white, and it all. I mean, it has a metallic disc on his hat, right? It kind of reminds me of what they were using to make those headpieces that you have, Sheldon.
Yeah.
And that hat alone is kind of cool too. I would think European when I think of that hat, but evidently not. The big flat, that was a thing.
I can't say a lot about at least the crow style of back then, but I think them and the rest of the tribes were kind of the same.
Yeah.
The only caps I think are the ones that have like the buffalo horns like off the sides.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I see like they have like quote unquote turbans, kind of.
Yeah.
But
there was a lot of that, a lot of different styles. Like they didn't go with all just one style for anybody in this, and it kind of felt like a mixture because I don't know if the good son, and I can't remember their names, but the son that was captured by the crow, when he gets older, he has that. I don't think that is that crow headdress. It's a weird looking head. It's not weird. It's very common what we think, but it doesn't fit in with the rest of the crow at all. You know what I'm talking about? That red feathery thing.
It almost looks like a bird. It makes you look like a bird, like the way it stands up. Pretty cool headpiece, though.
Yeah, Bylane, to see that hat does look a little bit the same as the King's Guard bearskin hats in England. It does kind of have that appearance. So, while Sheldon's looking at that, I couldn't find any pictures of it. So, but while you're looking at that, so the story goes, of course, as a young man, he wants to take a wife, and the older warrior in the tribe also wants her, and I believe his name is Crooked Leg. And he offers her father some horses that are better than Windwalker's horses. And so Windwalker goes on a faraway trip. And did he say where he went, who he raided to get those horses?
He said it's the enemy. He just said crow.
Was
So we just went to the enemy, the crow. Yeah.
Well, so he struck the first blow then.
Yeah.
So he brings back, and this kind of I'm trying to understand this. He brings back all these horses and gives it to her father, of course, and then he gets to marry her. And what I didn't understand was the other warrior, Crooked Leg, just randomly got thrown out of the tribe. And I assume that's just for the story, because I'm sitting here thinking, why in the world was it that shameful that he didn't have enough horses, or what? He just got thrown out of the tribe for no reason.
Yeah, I think it was just more for the movie thing.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is that Crooked Leg, I think he was like probably out of that whole little scene. I think him and the dad were probably, and the mom, they were all actual native actors.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw the thing you're talking about on the red piece. You see that nowadays too. It's called a porcupine roach, and you mainly use it for dancing.
Okay. Because I mean, it looks cool, but it doesn't seem to fit the mood of all the other crows at the time.
Yeah.
So anyway, So he gets one of his crooked leg leaves, comes back with a young evil eye, as they call him, warrior with one bad eye, paints his face black and white in the middle, and they wind up capturing one of his sons and killing his his wife there, his however you want to
It
say
seemed
it.
kind of accidental.
Yeah.
They threw her on the back of the horse, and the horse reared back, and she fell and hit her head on a log. I don't think they were trying to kill her.
It makes you wonder if a renegade from a Cheyenne tribe, how well he would be accepted. Just go down and join the Crow.
Right?
I mean, just randomly.
I'm not sure. I know, like with the Lakota and the Arikara, if a Lakota man married an Arikara woman and stayed with them, they'll slowly accept him, but they still view him as Lakota and might try to either kill him or beat him up.
Yeah, because it's not like a woman or a child; it's a full-grown warrior. Just randomly showing up. Which
you'd think it'd almost be a trap if he says, "Hey, I know where you can get your horses or whatever back."
I found a picture of the guy, but it's the back of the album case.
I wish you guys would have said something, because when I watched it, I could have took screenshots of the video.
I wasn't thinking about it. We'll do that for the next movie.
The next time we do a video review, let me know, and I'll make sure I do a crap ton of screenshots of all the actors and the whole movie all together.
Okay.
So, but Windwalker's remembering all this, and he does go after his son. And it was very interesting because it looked like it was filmed on location. He goes, obviously, what is south into Utah, even possibly Nevada. And I was asking Sheldon, that seemed like a long way south for Crow to be camping, but you said they went way south, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't remember if it's Two Leggings book or another book. I have it right there. Red was the blood of our forefathers. One of them mentioned a Crow war party going basically all the way down to New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a long ways.
There's
nothing out here. Like a lot of Nevada, there's nothing here.
Are you familiar with that color of country there, Snapper? Or would that been
Which
Nevada?
areas?
Well, where he goes.
Yeah, I've been to. Yeah, I've seen these areas and been to these areas. There's some areas, don't get me wrong, but the majority of all the areas that are livable, you have to pass through large areas of unlivable areas just to get to it. As a matter of fact, that's the only reason Las Vegas exists, because there was a water little oasis here, and it turned into a town. That's the only reason that actually happened here. But most of the desert, especially here and going into towards California with the Death Valley, basically. But even going north, Arizona area, there is rains, and there are areas that there's life and greenery, but not much. I couldn't imagine a large group of people anyway surviving. I mean, they could. I'm guessing if you knew the area, but as a white guy who has no idea, I couldn't imagine surviving in this area. I couldn't imagine there's any way to survive in this area.
They could live in places we could only imagine or dream of living in.
I don't think I'd want to. It would be a miserable existence.
Look at the Apache. Look what they lived in.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
And they just knew how to live there. But he goes down there.
Yeah.
He obviously, it looks like he travels from Montana, Wyoming country down into Utah.
Almost gets his son back.
Yeah, almost does. Captures or gets a chance to talk to his son. Hands him what I call a talisman. I don't know what the word would be for that. It's like some kind of family heirloom, something that represents the Cheyenne family, not the Cheyenne people as a whole. What you got any thoughts on that, Sheldon? What is that? The thing around the neck that they always are passing back and forth.
It's a
Fancy
necklace.
That's what I thought he was going to say.
Well, I was going to say, is there, like for you, for Lakota, for your sub band, did you have an insignia, some kind of nothing like that?
No, back then, basically, you just went off of the lineage. There was no flag, there was no insignia, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
You might have like family colors, but usually just up to the person. And when they say where you're from, you go off.
Yeah.
saying which band, sub band, family, like that. So
that might be more of a Hollywood thing then. But
yeah,
it carries the plot.
yeah.
Just like Crooked Leg bringing the crow in, that carries the plot.
Yep.
So anyway, he shows his son this necklace thing, which the son loses his, and he winds up getting into a fight. It's the most well-lit canyon I have ever seen. Like there's a prairie fire going on somewhere for the amount of firelight that is going on in this canyon. But he winds up.
We had here in Nevada, we had this weird thing that happens every like 40, 50 years where I forgot the name of the call. It's like a blue moon or something like that. And it's just an insane amount of light off the moon. Mm-hmm. And it's quite astonishing because it's so bright outside. You don't need light at all. You cast a shadow, everything from just the moon at night. And that's what it reminded me of. It's like, that's how well lit that canyon was. It's a once in a 30-year opportunity, 34-year opportunity. He just picked the perfect day with the blue moon or whatever the heck they call it. It was crazy. It's crazy. You can almost wear sunglasses at night here for a little bit. It's crazy.
This is where I wanted to get Sheldon's thoughts because this is the first time that the weapons really come into play in our scene well in light, and we have stone spears and war clubs. And man, those war clubs, as a novice in war clubs, I don't know much about them. Man, they look good to me. It looked like somebody took time and detail on those war clubs because you don't just see the stone, you see the decorations down the handles, the wraps, the little tailings coming off the end. Something you would see in a museum. What did you think, Sheldon?
Honestly, as much I like the movie, but to me, a lot of what they were wearing kind of just reminded me of like gas station native art.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say
we have that here big time.
The beadwork is a little either later or not at all.
Yeah, because I think at that time, especially that time, it would have been way more common to see quill work. Mm-hmm. And if you ever see a war club with the wrap around the handle or anything, that's gas station.
Man, well, they got me. I'll say that. I liked it. I thought it looked pretty good.
I got all the best of the gas station war clubs.
So what you're telling us is this is like 1950s westerns. If we were looking at guys with belt loops, and
it was coming out. It was coming out of it. The fact that you see almost everyone wearing all the tribesmen wearing buckskins and even running around in the snow wearing them. It's more authentic than
the good old loincloth.
Yeah, than wearing pants with the loincloth over it.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is we would see they're more accustomed to, like, we see in 1950s westerns where all the cowboys have belt loops and Stetson and cattleman creased hats and stuff. That's kind of what it was looking like to you, for natives.
Yeah, some of their costumes are really good.
The kids.
Yeah.
I like the kids.
But yeah,
kids are my favorite part of the whole movie, honest to God. The little kids, at the bit, like the ones towards the end, those little guys were incredible. They just sucked it up and did whatever needed to be done.
Macaulay Culkin had nothing on those two.
Yeah, no. Heck, they set traps the whole 9 yards.
So anyway, old man is dying in his old age. He only has one son. He has two grandsons, a couple of women there in camp. And it's interesting because the whole family is in the teepee, and I don't know if it's because he's dying or what. They got him in this wigwam-looking thing out to the side. So, and another thing, I was like, how come is this family unit all by itself at this point? Mm-hmm. Does that strike you as strange?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I think like the Cheyennes and the Lakota, they were like similar enough to where they they became allies, but it was like each like sub band would basically be like a family. Mm-hmm. Like you can say Red Cloud family for instance, and it would be like him, like his teepee, his household, maybe his kids and daughters, like his daughters or sons, and maybe some brothers and stuff. So it wouldn't be much in like a sub band, but like maybe 50 people at max. Mm-hmm. Or they call it Tioshpayes in Lakota.
Probably not 7 people though.
No, 7 would be your you wanted 7 people's kind of you're just begging to get killed.
Yeah, I was about to say, it seems like it was kind of foolish. But what would you call that he was in? It's like a wigwam, but it was covered with bear hides with fur out. Probably
It
not.
looked like a sweat lodge, but usually that's what it looked like to me. It looked like a sweat lodge that he was laying in, but I mean that might have been helpful for him, but I don't know if back then they kept those up as something to put like an elder, and usually the elder would just stay inside a teepee with everyone else because.
Yeah, I was thinking that, and what my thoughts was they should have got him out of there earlier because whatever they were doing in there was holding him down.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as he was out, he went to town, man. So he dies, basically. He tells his grandsons about the other son. It's not stated that he actually dies, but they think that he dies, so they put him up on the...
He pretty much seems to die because like it's a good day to die, and then he shows them burying him, like doing the above ground burial.
Took the words right out of Chief Joseph's mouth.
Yeah,
he was the first
day to die.
Well, he says that he got brought back, so
yeah, it could have been.
Yeah, because it made him sound like he was definitely dead.
What do they call the scaffold that they put them on?
I can't think of the word.
Yeah. But anyway, they put him up on the scaffold and they leave him there and run down, and they're headed out, just a small family unit with one warrior, basically, 2 women and 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
And at least I think it was only one warrior at the start. And they're heading off to meet somebody, and they're attacked by older Evil Eye, the brother who is now grown up, and a couple of other warriors who were just evidently crows out on some kind of war party looking for Cheyenne.
What could have been was that family broke off from the main camp to go bury the old man. They were on their way back, and then they get attacked.
Mm-hmm. That would make more sense,
because that is something that did happen, or like they'd stay behind while the camp moved, and they'd just catch up later.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, I'm not. You probably don't know the answers to everything, but the question that always strikes my mind is: it seems like it's awfully cold, deep dead of winter for a crow raiding party to just be wandering around Cheyenne land.
Well, they're like the majority of the time they wouldn't try like any kind of attacks or horse raiding in the winter, but there's always someone who has the idea of, hey, let's go do it, because if we do it, because of the weather, they ain't gonna chase us back because they ain't got no horses. Why would they? But it happens.
That's a good point.
So you think they were after the horses, especially?
Yeah, because that's what a lot of those raids were back then, was to get horses, or sometimes they were just out for blood.
Yeah. Some young warriors there, one old one, and on the attack, of course, and they attack them. Does not go successfully for the attacking party. They do wound the Windwalker's son that remained, the main son there on he rides the white horse. And okay, what are your take on that double horn club?
I liked it.
I think it's pretty cool.
Like that movie really is like it. Sure, not a lot of people know about it, but it did help push for the authenticity in a lot of things. Mm-hmm. There were still some gas station native stuff in there, but it was like compared to some others. But that one, like the double horn club, that was a thing they had back then. I would have no idea if that would puncture, but I think it might have if you swung it hard enough.
For those of you watching, I don't have a picture of it, but what it is think of two black powder horns, like for buffalo powder horns and black buffalo horns, just one on each side, making 2 spikes in a handle. So it's basically a double end.
Didn't it look almost like an S? Didn't they have it more of an S shape?
Yeah,
I remember right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the horns did, but it was a very interesting weapon. It stuck out to me anyway, so it did its job. Caught my attention.
Yep.
And they use it to like you said, it may not have penetrated very well, but that's kind of plays in with the story because they don't kill the son.
Yeah.
They just mortally wound. Well, I don't even know if it's mortally wound him. But surprisingly, I think literally everybody survives the attack.
Mm-hmm.
And the women drag the warrior back in to kind of a little bit of a wooded area with the children with them. And the other brother, who's been long lost, comes along, kind of knows they're there, lets them go, doesn't really act interested. So all this time, all of a sudden, old Windwalker wakes up. And all he can think is, grandfather, it's cold.
Yeah, I would think that.
And I'm telling you, this guy ended up with the short end of the stick for waking up from the dead. I can tell you, like, I've had bad luck in my life, but that guy's luck was bad the second he woke up from the dead.
I'm telling you, getting him out of that sweat lodge or whatever it was and some fresh air, that was all he needed.
That's all he needed.
Once he broke the scaffolding down, fell down 20 feet of mountain, landed with his spear, fell down, or was chased by wolves, fought the wolves off, fell down into a cave that had a grizzly bear in it, which reminded him of when he was younger. One of his sons had been struck by or swapped by a grizzly bear, and so he had a scar. Kills the grizzly bear. Which is part of the plot.
That's part of the plot towards the end.
So he fights off the wolves. He falls down the mountain. He falls in a cave. He fights a grizzly bear with a spear. He was dead 10 minutes ago. And he's got more gumption now than I do. And I mean,
he did the greatest acts of heroism that every single one of our, Davy Crockett, all of them fighting off a bear with a knife. He does it with like a stone knife or a club. And he just wakes up, oh, the bear's dead. Well, I guess I killed it.
He is so good. He tans the bear's hide before he leaves the cave. It's completely tanned. It is aged out. It is whatever. It was smoked. It's the whole 9 yards. And then he carries that bear's hide out of that cave with him.
And keep in mind, he was dead 10 minutes ago. So, I think you're right. I think he was just fine. He just needed a nap. And then he woke up and was like, well, I guess I got this.
Well, Sheldon, they don't make them like they used to, I guess, huh?
No. I think the whole plot of the story was like, we are way weaker than our forefathers, that's for sure. This guy was dead. At least we thought he was.
But, like, in all honesty, like you just said, it's nothing different than we watched at Davy Crockett as kids, with him killing the bear, smiling down the bear and killing it with a knife. That's exactly what it was. It was legend.
Didn't even get wounded. A little bit of, like, ketchup stains, because somehow his ketchup in his pocket broke. But, yeah.
Oh, that was it was really interesting. Let's get to a few comments here before we move on with the story. Let's see. Bylane C, that hat looks like the King's Guard. Yes, I got that. Hardy's in, says hello, you silly humans. Great Pilgrim's in. Hi, Pilgrim. He said, hi, guys. Bylandon C said, a super moon in the desert is very bright.
It's kind of crazy.
Gray Pilgrim said, great show Sunday, Garrett. Tell Sergeant Ethan he did well, except for the blue uniform. I'll be sure to remind him of that. Franklin Horse said, were you trying to remember the term medicine bag? I don't remember us talking about that. Might have been. Gray Pilgrim said, guys, speaking of Indian films, seen the movies based on the novels of Tony Hillerman. 4 of them, Skinwalker, The Dark Wind, Thief of Time, Coyote Waits on the Navajo Reservation. Are highly recommended. Stars 90% Native Americans. Are you familiar with those, Sheldon?
I watched most of them as a kid, and I think Dark Wind is an AMC TV show right now.
Oh, cool.
Takes place I think that Dark Wind takes place in the 1970s.
Well, that's through the comments. Back to the story. What happens next? He randomly he heads home. And
he finds them randomly in a teepee.
Well, they went home, evidently, right? That was back to their teepee.
Or they built a teepee in the middle of nowhere, one of the two.
Oh, yeah. Would they have had the teepee with them? Because they were moving on.
They did, because they were pulling the teepee behind with the horse, and it fell off. So they had the 3 stone, or like the long pieces of wood. And it fell off when they were stealing the horses.
Well, it was stated that
Because they were out of horses, and the kids went and got the white horse back. Remember? They're like, we need a horse, and the kids went and found the white horse again. Because they just looked at, I need a horse, and these two little kids.
That happened at 58 exactly.
10 years old or so, and they're like, you better go find me a horse. And they just kind of do this like, okay, we got you. And then these two little kids just come back with a horse.
So we're
telling you, the two little kids are the best part of the story.
He sends us messages all the time where Sheldon works. He's always got people around him have horses that get out, and he'll text us and be like, shenanigans are going on, and he's trying to chase these horses away. I texted him. I said 58, 52, Sheldon at work, and it's that little kid trying to run up and grab that horse's rope. That's exactly Sheldon at work right there.
Wish I had a rope or something.
So evidently
that was hilarious.
They set their TP up, but it's believable because they were attacked not far from where they had laid him to rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he obviously found them.
It was right down.
Can't be that far.
And he walks in there, and those two women are like, "We really have reached the end."
Yeah, the looks on their face are like, "Yep, we probably died," or "Yep."
Not only is he back, he's stronger than he's been for like 50 years.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Sheldon?
Oh, I thought it was an evil spirit or something.
Oh, yeah. Something was going on.
I think it's funny. The kids are like, yay, Grandpa's back. And they're just like, oh, my God, this guy's dead. He's alive.
They must have missed the part where we left him tied up to a scaffold on the top of the mountain.
Yeah, I know, right? The looks on those women's faces was just priceless.
There's a couple places in this movie where the looks on the actors' faces are priceless. The other one is later on at the very end in the final attack, where the two little boys are going to have to run across that ice pond. They hit, and they're just sitting there like, that is good acting, because their eyes are just big as can be, and they're like, we're about to do this, bro. We're about to do this.
Yeah, it actually did. I'm telling you, those little two kids, whoever those actors were, they were actually really good. Because you can see them setting up for that. We'll get to that part later when they're setting up for the attack. Like, you could see, like, if you think when you were a kid, if you set up some little trap, and then you ran across and you're about to see this trap actually work, and the looks on their faces was pure excitement. They're like, I can't believe that actually worked.
It went from we're going to die to,
we
made it.
Yeah. And we just killed a warrior. Yeah, man, that was great.
Great Pilgrim said I grew up in New Mexico, although I am
That's Navajo for white person.
Oh, mini Navajo. We'll bring it up. Okay, well, you're not speaking my language anymore, so. But anyway, so we're to this point. Grandpa's back. Head warrior's wounded. Grandpa says, all right, we're going to take you to a cave where we know there's not a bear anymore. So,
yeah, we know exactly where there's a cave with no bear.
No bear in it anymore.
No bear at all.
And evidently he set that something up in there because he was already ready to make camp. He had his rock circle in there. Well, no, that was evidently a place they had stayed because there were, I would call them hieroglyphics. What do you call those paintings? The wall had been painted.
I would just call them hieroglyphics.
Mm-hmm.
Can't even talk.
And he it's just what I love about this movie is it's not so self-aware that it has comedy in its very own little way.
Yeah.
It's not trying to be that serious. And they just show up in this cave with all these hieroglyphics. And of course, One Eye and all those guys are out there, and the other son who's with them, who's been lost, says, we got the horses, why what do we want to keep doing? And they're like, oh,
yeah, they figured they killed the other guy, like he was going to die. It's like, there's no honor in just going to go try to, kill the women and children. Mm-hmm. We got what we were here for. And then they're like, no, we got to do this thing.
Like scorched earth, got to wipe everybody out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, back then, the tribes, they weren't above killing women and children, so.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
probably wasn't as.
Let's be honest. There's a lot of people on this earth that many times in life that were not above killing women and children.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's kind of been a thing in human history since day one.
if you think about it, that's taking away warriors that your kids won't have to fight.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's like you can
always find a good justification for that.
You can make
Remember, it's not a war crime the first time.
Yeah, they're making the argument to themselves that this is better for our children if their children don't grow up to fight them. So
I think that's the one thing I really enjoyed about the movie was, I know we talked about it a bit earlier, but the fact that everything's still stone and natural, not. I think that's what caught my eye when I was watching as a teenager too.
Yeah.
It would have been easy for them to throw in some flintlock pistol or something to make the movie seem a little bit more.
Well, it's not polluted.
Since they didn't do that, it made it actually better because everything is handheld. Other than a bow, you see him use a bow a couple of times in the beginning for hunting. But yeah, everything is mostly knives and stone knives and clubs.
And it's kind of like when a movie that should be made with like muzzleloaders or cap and ball revolvers is made with cartridge guns. It takes something out of it because it completely changes the way the fight goes down. So if they add even one firearm to the story, even though it's possible, I guess they could have, it would have completely changed the way that the story was told because this is tooth and claw, stick and rock versus I'm gonna kill you, you're gonna kill me. It's just a matter of who's got the most determination in the end. There's no equalizers.
Yep, there's nothing from a distance. Yeah, and a woman versus a man, it's not going to end out well for the woman usually.
No. But then that was an interesting point because at one point the two little kids' mom gets down, and the one brother looks at the other, and he's like, "We're going to do this." He grabs a big old stick, runs up and knocks it. And I don't know. It seemed like it was a little too easy to knock him out. But it's a movie still too. But he had some he was ferocious.
That scene. I'm lucky. I'm happy. I live by myself because that the sound. That didn't sound right. The fighting noises she was making. No,
it didn't sound quite right, huh? Sounded like it was almost enjoyed.
But, I'll be right back. You guys can continue talking about it or talk something else.
Okay.
All right. Well, I just want to get to my favorite part. That's when Grandpa grabbed the two little ones and was like, "You want to learn how to make a whole bunch of cool traps, basically?" And walks them around and shows them everything. Come on. We all had this happen once in our lives. You had that uncle or grandpa who took you out in the woods and showed you how to make some kind of a trap for like a rabbit, a rat, whatever. And that was the part of the movie I love that part. They just walk around, say, "Hey, do this, do this, do this." And it shows a little kid leaning on a tree to get it all the way over while he's hiding it. The whole, just like you said, Macaulay Culkin style Home Alone.
Yeah, except for theirs are deadly.
Theirs are deadly, and they actually worked. It didn't just make it look like you killed the person and they back 10 seconds later. Theirs actually worked.
And that leads us to that part. Let me get through a couple comments here. Franklin Horst said petroglyphs, not hieroglyph. Oh, sorry, yeah. Said petro rocks, petro, autocorrect. Great Pilgrim said, "Yep, I've seen many. Most are at least 1,000 years old." Yeah, see, I'm not all that into that. If Duke was here, he could have told us all about that because he's a geologist. But no, in this part of the story, obviously he brings the family into the cave and he's like, "Get ready because there's obviously no hiding or running from these people. We're going to set some traps and we're going to do battle. And it's going to be two preteen boys and an 80-year-old man. We're going to take on what amounted to, I think,
some hardcore killers."
Yeah, at the time. And so what all
hardcore killers?
I know the one trap in the ice.
The ice trap. There was a tree trap. I think that's the only ones I remember them covering because it just showed them working. The tree knocks the dude off the horse and he falls, and then an avalanche happens and kills him.
Yeah, no, well, that avalanche. I was going to wait for Salvatore to get back for that one. That avalanche was crazy because it was brought on just by the one Indian seeing a track and doing a war whoop.
yeah.
And then whoop, and he's gone, wiped out. That's the end of the story.
You know what's crazy? Like going back to what they were just talking about, like the petroglyphs. There's a cave here in Nevada. I've been wanting to go to it for some time. That they found bodies, like mummified style bodies in.
Yeah.
And this was like 20 years ago or so. And they thought that that they were only like 3,000 years old max.
Mm-hmm.
And a little while later, after they went through and cleaned it all up, they realized that the inside the stomach of one of the mummies was grass and like fish and stuff like that. And when they did the carbon dating, it's something like 22,000 years old. And the person died when this was still water. Like this entire desert was still covered in water.
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to be the oldest human remains ever found, like mummified human remains, and it's here in Nevada. That, and I want to go see that Winchester that was found out in the.
You want to find that Winchester leaning against a tree? Well,
I would have killed. The only thing though is if I would have found that, nobody would have heard about it.
It's never been known, huh? Well, I know somebody.
But I couldn't imagine.
Somebody who helped examine that rifle.
Oh, did you?
In the museum world. Yeah, when they x-rayed it, though, it had a Remington UMC cartridge in it. Not just a UMC, Remington UMC. That kind of takes away from it because that means that gun was left there after 1911.
Right. They believe it was around like 1910 to 1920s or something like that. Is when they believe the gun was left out. It would be cool to say, hey, it was left there in 1890s or 70s. But just the fact that this gun is set up there for more than 100 years.
This would be a good time while we're waiting on Sheldon to let everybody know that last week we were talking about whether or not there was a converted Walker. There is.
There is. We found, we didn't find one. We had somebody show us one.
Doug Dukes, which probably we would have probably found it, but he had a picture himself standing there with it. So, Doug Dukes showed us that there was a Walker. It was converted. But like you said,
it was 44.
In Mexico.
It was 44 Henry, yeah. So it wouldn't have been very powerful, but it's still, there was a converted Walker. And it wasn't like the cap on the back style conversion. This was actually a gate-loaded style conversion with an ejector on the side.
It was a full-scale Richard Mason type conversion.
Yep.
So
super cool.
It was a Type 3 conversion, too, so it was done later on.
So it would have been done way later on. Do you know that they actually made Walkers? And, it wasn't a Colt Walker, but the Mexico. In Mexico, they actually made a crap ton of.
I know for
in the 1880s, 70s, and 80s, and 50s, 80s, 60s.
During the 70s when the big Walker boom, everybody wanted to collect Walkers, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people to this day think they have $1 million Walker. They have $1,000 Mexico Walker.
Yep. But hey, it's still cool because, that thing was still made in the 1860s or 70s or 80s or something like that. And it looks like the real deal. But the markings, it's just a little different if you know real Walkers. Yeah. In Colt quality, it's not the quality that's there. But it's still cool to think that you might have seen things that look like Walkers if you were near Mexico.
Yeah. So by Landon, he said, Snapper, I'll go help you find another Winchester out there. If you come here and help me find the Spanish treasure galleon, here in my stretch of desert. You know what I'm looking for still is every time I go to Arizona, when my parents were there, I would always try to go out to the Superstition Mountains. There's a whole case of dragoons that were coming back right after the Civil War. And it was right during the Civil War, right after the Civil War, and they were being loaded through the Superstition Mountains, and they were being packed to one of the forts in Arizona, and they ended up being chased and got attacked by the natives there. They fought them off, and they ran, and they fought them off, and they ran, and before it was all said and done, the only people that were left was the supply sergeant and the officer, and the officer ended up surviving, but they said they put the guns in a cave and they buried them. And he even said, hey, it's in this area. But the thing that kind of makes it dumb was the fact that the officer was the first time he'd ever been to this area. The supply sergeant actually was stationed in that area. So he would have been able to find it, but he didn't make it. And so the officer tried to lead them back to where he thought he buried them, and they never found them.
And still to this day, and they're actually numbers. They're actually serial numbers you can find that these guns would be that have never been found. And what sucks is where they're believed to be, there's a dam there now. So most likely they're underwater, which sucks. Or there's could still possibly be in a cave, a small cave in that area, a whole freaking box of third model Dragoons. Somewhere. Which, boy, I tell you, man, I couldn't imagine even. Who knows what the condition would be? Because it's desert. It doesn't. I mean, it rains there, but not much. If they're not underwater, and then being that these were in shipment, so that they're going to be in a case, probably in wax paper. I bet you at least one or two would still be okay, and the rest would probably be, in different conditions. But boy, would that be so cool to find! I would rather find that than any treasure out there. That's my real treasure right there. I want that.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
And when I find it, I'm not telling anybody. I'm just going to have a whole bunch of Dragoons behind me.
just put a bounty out for it. You got those guys who like doing geocache.
Yeah.
It's just like that geocache thing. Honestly, you know what? There was a group of people who've always went out and looked for it, and they believe they found it. And the cave that they thought it would be in when they started digging, they went down. They didn't find any trace yet, but they didn't get to dig very deep because they think that the top of the cave collapsed. But they said it was too unstable that they were worried that it was going to collapse again. So they hadn't gone back out yet to go search for them again. But the way I see it, I would just hire somebody and tell them the cave's perfectly fine. And just keep digging. If it collapses, well, I'll just go hire somebody else to keep digging.
So
we got Dragoons to find here, people.
Back to the story. Where we left off was before the next morning attack with the little kids and Windwalker go out to set up the traps. But before I get there, Sheldon, what would you consider? Like a lot of us consider as far as Western movies, movies like Josie Wales, Lonesome Dove, those to be like pretty close to historically accurate, there or Wyatt Earp, not Tombstone, the Kevin Costner Wyatt Earp. They're movies that are like on the edge. Of course, they're not 100% right. You can always find something. What would you say is in my mind, bury my heart at Wounded Knees there, but I'm no expert on the subject. So, what would you say is a good movie that you can say this is accurate? This is pretty good stuff.
Like in general?
Yeah, in general. So we have a scale here. We have like at the end, like if we say we have John Ford Westerns down here where it's like nothing's correct at all. And then up here, what's the upper end of that scale?
You found a time machine?
Oh, yeah. I mean movie wise. Is there one that just sticks out to you as this is really, really good, best as they could do?
I really hope you get some crazy answer that's like just way off, just a full Garrett.
Like in terms of his overall
accuracy, like if you the closest to historically accurate any native movie that would be, you looked at it now and you say, okay, that was about as close as any movie has ever gotten to accuracy for
like
native
everybody
movie.
says about Josie Wales, we have one or two things wrong here and there. Gatlin,
but everything else seems right.
Wouldn't have walkers, but the clothes are good, the guns are good, the acting's good. It looks good.
I would say, and I haven't seen this movie in a long time. I could probably watch it. My dad has a DVD, but and that might change my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But some of those old TNT movies were pretty good. Like the Crazy Horse one. If I remember right, that was pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I would love to see.
I would see like Dances with Wolves in the terms of the clothing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not the.
Not the white guy.
It's not a white person. We don't know what they're saying. It's like it's not even 8 years before he had a whole damn treaty.
Yeah. That is interesting. Yeah, because it's kind of like they transported the Indians and the natives out of this movie directly up into 1860, and now we got the first white guy shows up in 1865 or whatever.
Yeah,
they won't know what it is.
So
never
it's
seen
like
one before.
The TV show Into the West was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, I don't think there is a one movie that has 100% authenticity when it comes to the native side.
Mm-hmm.
Because in order to even simulate a actual camp life would take a it would take a bit, even if you're just framing tanned hides and making it look like you're tanning them, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then just like one thing with Windwalker that gets me is like when you before I disappeared on you guys, when the Cheyenne woman's fighting that crow, it's all quiet and she's like you can hear her like
Mm-hmm.
grunting and trying to fight them off. Is like there's something about some of these native movies, and it does affect the native culture nowadays. Is the silence of it all? Because you think if you're getting attacked like that, you'd be screaming your head off,
You think so? Yeah.
fighting and stuff. But no, it's like no, and then she's
But
not
if
doing
you were
that.
surrounded by other bad people with not very many good people around to come and help you, do you think you would want to be that loud? Because you might just draw in more bad people.
I mean, they're already going
I don't know.
through, and if
Do
you
you
think
have the presence of mind to think like that in such a situation?
That's true. Yeah. Do you have the presence of? Because I mean, anybody's who's ever been to any park ever, anytime any person does anything, there's always some person screaming their head off. Like anything happens, there's always some girl somewhere screaming as loud as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, when it came to that, like you think she'd be trying to, fight more or scream a little bit more, to get him off. But it's kind of like that shot kind of reminded me of like when you get first time actors and tell them do this, and they're like barely doing something because they're too embarrassed.
yeah. You don't want to get too carried away with it. You're not going for an Oscar.
Yeah.
But no, that was the little kid whacked him with a stick, and that was my takeaway from it was it didn't take much to knock him out.
Yeah.
Like, just, but that's a common issue with movies of the era. But he did hit him more than once. He really went to town after he was down there for a minute. But I was going to talk to Sheldon that a part of the movie that wasn't supposed to be funny. We Staffer and I were talking about, but struck me as funny as when the warrior finds the track and gives the war cry and instantly gets wiped out by an avalanche.
I know.
That was funny.
That's not supposed to be funny, but it's hilarious. It's like, I guess it could happen.
Yeah.
That'll end it.
You know what's sad? I bet you there's some human at some time in history who died by yelling or doing something like that and then get wiped out by an avalanche.
And it wasn't even a big war whoop or anything. It was just one little whoop.
Nope.
It was done. But they should have known right then their luck was not with them that day. They should have just
No. I mean, you think the second they realize that somebody is back from the dead, maybe you should just leave it alone and go away.
I don't think they ever realized that.
Yeah, I was gonna say besides the old Crow Warrior, I think that young one that was kind of, I think the rest of those warriors, I don't think they knew that old man was even around.
Mm-mm.
They just thought this women and children,
That's true, because he didn't even realize that was his son until he wiped the makeup off.
Mm-hmm. But that gets us back into the story because we're setting up for this battle. They head down into where they think the teepee is, and they drag the teepee out, and nobody's in it. And this is the point where other son, long lost son, says enough is enough. I think he's got a bad feeling about this since we just lost somebody in an avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
Which you think you would? I'm just saying.
And he's like, I'm
Act
going.
of God.
I'm leaving. And this is one of those movies where I don't think they could have ever put in that no animals were harmed in the making of this movie, because that horse was struggling for real to get through that snow. There's a couple places where it was obvious that they tripped horses up and this and that, but that was a cool scene, him riding away from those other warriors. Just like that horse about didn't make it, but he was determined to get through that deep snow. And then we come on into, they're going to track him up to the cave. And
they find his pole, his
spear.
Spear? spear.
It was a spear.
As kind of a warning of don't, come here kind of thing. I guess that's what you would see it as.
It was almost like a actually please do in single
Yeah,
file.
it kind of was. Like we're right here. We're even down a spear.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing to defend ourselves with. But this whole time, and I was trying to remember all the traps. Like I said, I remember there was an ice trap and a rope trap with a tree.
The rope trap with the tree, and then the avalanche trap was kind of it. And the avalanche was not even really set by them. It was kind of an act of the Great Spirit.
Yeah. So,
and could you imagine if you were Crow and you were there and you realized there's a guy back from the dead too? Like, and he was Cheyenne. You think you would be like, should I be Cheyenne? Like, am I wrong? Are we the baddies? I'm just saying, a guy comes back to life.
Was it? I got to stop and think. Was it the rope trap they used to capture the other brother?
It was, if I remember right.
Knock
Yes.
the horse down and everything slides down the.
Yeah.
It was.
They're going to kill him, and Windwalker tells them he won't die. Bind him.
Yeah.
So they take him down into the cave, and instantly this guy starts putting together 2 and 2 from when he was a kid. He starts to see the talisman, the necklace. And the first thing he starts into his mind was that man had told him when he was little, "You're Cheyenne, you're not Crow. Cheyenne, you're not."
I think
Crow.
when he saw his brother, because they're supposed to be perfect twins, same guy plays both. He goes, "Why does that guy look just like me?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's when he started putting it together.
But it takes a while because he kind of just lays back. And I love the scene with the little, I think it was a little girl.
Yeah, she's eating that meat.
Yeah, a piece of meat. And she walks over there, she toddles over there, gives him a piece, and he bites it. And then she's like, let's play this game further. She starts biting it and chewing it and then taking it out of her mouth. And he's like, I got to eat something. Oh, that was a good scene. But, and then
I'm telling you, honestly, I think the kid actors in this movie were they were really good. They did a great job.
Because at one point, I don't remember, where was Windwalker when the ice trap was going off?
I don't remember. I just know that there's just the 2 little boys.
Yeah, so they're down to, well, the first warrior comes into the cave, right?
Yeah.
By himself. But I called him Red Face. He had the upper red paint. And I'm trying to remember. I watched it, and I can't even remember exactly what happened at that point.
He runs into that same woman and tries to fight her.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And then doesn't she kill him? She hits him with a rock in the head, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she kills him.
Yeah. So now we're down to just 2. And we have Evil Eye, because we have one guy captured, one guy killed by an avalanche, one guy killed in the cave. So we have Evil Eye and one more, the yellow-faced warrior with the gray hat. And that is when the grandfather, he gives them a talk. It's almost like the rite of passage thing without the rite of passage. Because like, now you're warriors, we didn't do anything, but you're about to go be warriors. So,
Yeah.
And they head out, and that is one of my favorite scenes because they act so good because they're watching this great warrior on this painted horse coming down the side of the mountain, and they're looking at each other like, it's go time, it's go time, it's go time. Yeah. And it's like, it
takes you back to like the 10-year-old you going, this is go time, with your buddies trying to do something crazy.
They literally look like they're about to fear for their life, but they feel like this is the only way us and our family are going to survive because their eyes are big as saucers. Their acting is so good. And what do? They take off and hit him with a stick? No, they hit him with something.
No, doesn't he start chasing him? That's when he falls through the water.
Well, he does, but I thought they might have come down on him or something. I can't remember now.
I thought that they were running, and they run past it, and when he's running, the horse and him fall into the ice. They fall through the ice.
They do. They had chopped out a circle in the ice with just barely hold their weight. Luckily, they run across it. The warrior comes through it, and I've had horses in water before. That was very accurate. when you get off of a horse's back in water, a lot of times, like on True Grit and stuff, they'll show like you get off the horse in the river and you swim beside it. That's a bunch of hooey. If a horse gets in water and panics, the first thing they try to do is use you as an island. Like they will turn around to find you. They will try to crawl on you. And so that's when I always see people swimming along with the horses. I'm like, either that's a really well-trained horse, or because I was always told, if you have to get in the water with a horse, do not get off his back no matter what you do, because they'll try to climb out of the water on top of you. And that's what happened. And it was I don't know if they planned it that way. It's almost like the stunt guy did not know that when he got in the water, because that horse climbs on top of him to get out. And he comes bubbling back up to the surface. And of course, he can't crawl out because it's too slick, and he drowns.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, any thoughts on that scene? I love that scene.
I mean, it's a good scene. I don't really have much to say.
They were counting a lot on the fact that that ice didn't refreeze, or that it was strong enough to hold both of them before that.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be done, but I like that scene a lot, especially when you could tell it wasn't scripted, because that horse, as soon as that stuntman's off his back, that horse turns sideways and starts going like this on him, trying to crawl out of the water. I love old movies like that before there were green screen and CGI, because it's kind of like you see that a lot in
real.
The Mountain Men movie. You seen the Charlton Heston Mountain Men?
I've been wanting to watch it.
Oh, it's one of those things where horses were probably killed in the making of that movie, because everything is so. It's so like running horses into each other, rolling them down the sides of mountains, and I don't like the horses being hurt, but at the same time, you can never replicate that with CGI.
Yeah.
No.
So
there are a lot of older movies where it's like, how in the world did they pull that off? Like a horse or whatever. Yeah, it's like like a tripwire, or they dug a hole for the horse to fall into. It's like, wow.
Or like earlier when they caught the other twin, they use that. What was it? Snare on that horse, and it goes tumbling down the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what it was. And I noticed those things. That's why I said when I seen it, that's why I said they probably can't say no horses were not injured. But you don't want it to happen. You don't want the horses to be injured. But at the same time, you realize this is not – when you see it, you realize it cannot be replicated. Like when you see, say in The Revenant, where they run those horses off the side of the cliff, obviously CG. And then when it happens, you're like, it's cool. But at the same time, you're like, we just went to a cartoon. It doesn't look right. So I was impressed with that ice scene. So now we're down to just one warrior, Evil Eye. And you would think he's about as old as Windwalker, maybe a little younger.
He should be, because he was roughly the same age, if not older than Windwalker in the beginning. I mean, Windwalker looked younger than him.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he didn't spend so much time in the sweat lodge. That sweat lodge was bringing him down. That was like depleting his health bar. Rapidly.
All he needed to do was be put up on a little,
get a little fresh
back
air.
out in the ice, way up in the fresh area, and then he's out there killing wolves and bears within seconds of being back alive.
He just needed that nap.
He just needed a good nap with some good fresh air, and he would have been fine.
And got a second wind.
So about this time, the son, obviously the other son, has discovered this is what's going on. He gets in contact, obviously, with Windwalker. He's like, I'm your son. Blah, blah, blah. We know what's going on. Windwalker cuts him loose. Windwalker walks out of the cave to do battle with Evil Eye, as he calls him. And it's such a great scene because Evil Eye is presented as like majestic, strong, like warrior. Maybe he's an older, wiser warrior, but he is in no way a beat down old man. And here you have Windwalker on the ground with nothing but, I think, a knife, ready to do battle with him. And about that time, out comes the lost brother on his brother's white horse, which was the white horse. It seemed like the white horse was one of the reasons they wanted them so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, white horse, I mean, I understand the significance of things like white buffalo, but would a white horse have been that significant?
Probably not really.
They just wanted that horse.
A lot of the movie does say old Hollywood, so
Yeah.
And I want Sheldon to give his thoughts on this, because when these two warriors go at it, like you say, they might look to you like gas station, but to the untrained eye, me, the fact that we're not only using clubs, but we're also using shields.
Oh, I love that scene. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't say 50-50. It's more like maybe 80-20, like 80% authentic, 20% gas station, something like that.
Okay.
But that scene
I'll never see gas station stuff again the same after this episode.
Well, that's what I call it. You know, that's what
It's
I call
funny
it.
because it's true. Like everywhere I go, that's like right above us, like not even a mile or so. There's a gas station I like to drive to, and it's in the Paiute.
Yeah, might be Paiute.
It's on their tribal land, and it's full of all that stuff, like all the like a bow and arrows, and clubs and necklaces, and the 1,000,001 freaking things you buy, dream catchers or whatever they're called. And it's funny because we see that at almost every gas station around here, and it's just funny you said that. It just reminds me of this area so much.
Doc said, so this scene is an authentic gas station scene.
An authentic gas station scene.
I was trying to watch the movie again, or at least go through it.
Yeah.
So I could, I watched it Saturday, but I remember most of the things, like some of the little intricate parts, like that fight. I really liked it because it does just show two natives fighting on horseback with their stone war clubs and shields and stuff. That's something you really don't see, and it's like it's a really good scene.
I was thinking that when I watched it. I've seen, of course, there's movies with horse-on-horse duel, but none of them that showed that, especially the addition of the shields. Most movies would have just been like, here's your war club, here's your horse, go at it. It'll take 2 seconds. One of you is going to
here's your bow and arrow, and here's your horse, go at it, Most of it's always bow.
I chalk this one up to, there are some really good stuntmen. I don't think it's the actors. There are some really good stuntmen in this movie, that as far as horseback workers, and you don't see that nowadays because not near as many horseback workers. But man, the shields and the decoration, that's like the last thing I think of when I think of native warfare is shields. Even though I know they're there, just because of movies, you never see them.
Like I've been wanting to make a shield. That's why I need hides. Because back then, that was really like the most common thing you'd find, even if they didn't use it. Like one thing I like is you can tell that they were authentic rawhide shields because that one bent into a U from all the humidity.
I seen that. I thought that was just designed that way, like a jouster shield to catch the enemy. No, it just bit.
It's supposed to be circular, but humidity's gonna screw with it.
So you have, in essence, the old warrior versus the young warrior now, with the other old warrior watching on. And man, it grabs your it grabs your breath to see this scene just done the way it is, because you don't see it. I can't think of a single other movie that has a scene like this. Two native warriors, complete head to toe in pretty good gear. Gas station gear, I guess.
I said a lot of it was good, and like it's moving more towards the authenticity, but there's still some of that gas stationness.
And the offset of the porcupine quill red headdress on one side versus just the black fur bear cap on the other. One of them is painted with black and white face paint. The other one has basically no paint because it's been wiped off. And it just feels like you're watching two knights go into battle. The way they start and they use technique. There's shield blocks, shield bashes, use the club over the shield, hook the shield. There's all kinds of things they do in there that, unless you actually slow it down and watch it, you won't catch. But when you do, you're like, somebody, when they made this movie, they wanted to make this scene and they built the movie around it. You know what I mean? That's what they had in mind to do. So anyway, old man watching on. Finally, Evil Eye. Who gets knocked off their horse first? I can't remember now at this point.
I think it was Evil Eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the other warrior gets down, and now I got to remember how I was so taken away by the original.
He
Flash.
doesn't kill him. He opens his chest up and sees the pendant that he had as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
if I remember correctly. Because I mean, I did see it this morning, but I do have a crappy memory.
Yeah, my
And he
memory's so
basically,
bad,
if I remember right, he lets him leave because he's like, this guy literally raised him. I mean, to him, that was his dad.
Yeah.
And he
memory's
basically
bad
just.
that I have the movie open right now.
Yeah, you might want to tell us how it ends.
This whole time I've been watching it.
I've watched it all, and now I can't remember the end because I literally was so blown away. I stopped and rewound and slow watched that battle scene before it was over, like 3 times, and then I let the ending play out. But I don't remember.
Like I said, a lot of what they're wearing in it is really good. Like both of them, you can see the quill work. I don't know if it's Hollywood Magic quill work, but it looks like quill work on their shirts and stuff. It's not, entirely, connected and stuff, or maybe on his, but.
I was just thinking from now on when we do this, we have to rate these movies now on the gas station scale. Loves to Bucky.
The gas station scale.
The Bucky scale. But again, I would say a lot of it is good. Like right now, it shows on my screen. It shows what's his name? The brother that was raised by Crow. I don't remember his name. Mm-hmm. He just rolled up and he's gonna fight the Beefeater. I mean, that's what the hat looks like.
The Beefeater.
And he has a V cut on his shirt. That wouldn't have been there. It would have been like how mine was kind of set up. Mm-hmm. I'm still fixing that, by the way. Beadwork takes time. More like Evil Eye, like how his shirt is, more set up like that. But it's a lot of it is really good. Like it's not total gas station, like some of those B westerns or C westerns, but there's some elements, but not much. But yeah, like I said, on the scale of 1 to 10 on the gas station scale, this gets maybe like a 3 gas station-y.
Oh, so it would be 8 good, or 7 good, 3 bad. Okay.
Yeah. I'm really bad.
We definitely we should go against that the movie that I have no idea why, but it's always on my feed. It's always in my feed. The guy who killed Hitler and Bigfoot.
I heard that's a really good one.
That movie. Did you see it? Did you guys? I watched it because I was like, this has got to be so ridiculous that you got to watch it. And
if
it's
if they would have just stuck with the man that killed Hitler, it would have been interesting. But Sam Elliott crying tears into his mustache, and the tears rolling out the end of his mustache like it's the Wizard of Oz because he killed Bigfoot.
I don't know why that movie is always, every time I click on something, if I scroll down just a little bit, it's right there.
Just watch it. You need a campy movie to watch for at least an evening.
Yep. So how does this movie end officially, Sheldon? We talked about it. We all saw it, and we didn't remember the very end.
Well, let's say that the full ending, like the old guy rides off, thanks the Great Spirit for letting him reignite his children, and then he just dies. He falls off his horse and dies.
Well, he gets to go back to his wife, and so that was the.
That's basically it.
And that reminds me of like the Guns N' Roses style concert with the girl, the light right behind her, with all the fog in the woods.
I know why. I was so busy sitting here writing on my phone all my thoughts that literally, like the last 2 minutes, I just was writing.
I should have been doing that, like writing, like my thoughts, but I was just like, I just like, I can remember, and now I'm sitting here pulling it up because I can't remember.
So my final thoughts, and I wrote this down as that last scene was going, so I didn't notice. I just remembered that he fell off his horse or something. So final thoughts. This is a great show that pairs well with Jeremiah Johnson. Hollywood in the 70s and 80s hated The Crow.
Really?
So, yeah, Franklin. All right, let's call it the gas station scale. At the bottom is 7-Eleven, and at the top is Buc-ee's. So you're saying, you said 3, so you're saying this is like a 7 good, right? Not a 3 bad.
Oh, so okay, let's just try to fix the scale real quick. So 10 would be full blown gas station, I guess.
Yeah. Oh no,
Okay.
10 would be good.
Okay, 10 would be
10 would
good.
be like no gas station at all.
Okay. No gas station at all at 10.
One being the
One
gas
at
station
7-Eleven.
at,
the corner
One
store.
I would say like, yeah, okay,
The-
7-Eleven at the Grand Canyon.
I about to say the truck stop along the interstate. That's just
Yeah.
full of.
Yep.
So yeah, this would be, I would say a 3, maybe 2.5 on the scale. Because a lot of it is good. Like if you look at the costumes, you can see like the deer legs hanging off the shirt,
Mm-hmm.
which that
Yeah.
would have been the style. And the more like even the earlier the shirts, the earlier the time period, if we go, the more natural the clothing would be
Okay.
versus later on,
Right.
right before reservations or during the reservation, but you had your holdouts. It
Okay.
would have been more cut to.
So you're saying 3 as in not good. So 7 would be good, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying 7 or 3 at the
Oh,
bottom?
I guess we need to work on the skill.
7 at the top. We're basically rating it out of 10.
Okay.
So,
10. 10 would be
giving-
perfect. Like if we were in a time machine, you can go back and see it. And then
Yeah.
1 would be
Okay.
gas station.
So yeah, we'll go
Hardcore
7, 8.
gas station.
Okay, 7. So
7 and 8. Okay.
Good
Yeah.
gas station. Good gas
Yeah.
station.
Good gas
Yeah.
station.
I understand. Would be like a lot of it is really good for what they have. Some of it's just kind of a little wonky, like I'm looking at the scene right now where he's backing up from the wolves.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell he's wearing looks like a two-piece moccasin.
Mm-hmm.
He has leggings. His leggings don't look correct, but give him that.
It's better than John Wayne or John Ford in Monument Valley, where
Yeah.
everybody looks the same.
By the looks of it, his quill work looks like it was just some buckskin or something, and they just drew lines on it,
Mm-hmm.
which is understandable because quill work is a pain in the butt.
Yeah. So on the gas station scale, he's giving it a 7, which is pretty good, because at this time period, I would only if I was to do this on a Mountain Man gas station scale, I would put Jeremiah Johnson at a 6 or a 7, because the guns aren't good. Some of the other stuff isn't perfect, but it's a good show.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to rate it a little bit differently because I don't know, of course, all the historical intricacies. I feel like this on the gas station scale to me, even though just as a movie to watch, to enjoy with a little bit of historical knowledge, I'm going to put this at like a 6. It's enjoyable. There's some things I would change about it. It has some campiness to it, a little bit of comedy.
Yeah.
A lot of better movies, but at the same time, if you want to sit down and burn an hour and a half and just have a good time, this is that. Home Alone. It's Home Alone.
Yeah. Like
Mine's just a little different. I went a little towards gas station-y just because the 2 main characters are obviously white dudes with a bunch of makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh my god, you got to have the person to play the. It's just it's a little weird to me when it comes to native stuff. I don't know why.
I mean, they could have got.
It just seems really fake to me.
Yeah, they could have got
Especially when you have so many, like they got the right kids, they got the right ladies, they got the right everything. Even the bad guys, they're right for the most part, except for the son, because he's just another white dude and a lot of makeup.
Well, the one, I think Evil Eye, I think he's white.
Is he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. And then the younger one with the red war paint and the
he's definitely white.
Yeah, he's white.
Yeah.
And I have it paused here, and they're having a little meeting. The Crows, you have one sitting there with a capote. I don't think that would have been a. I mean, it might have been a thing that they had, but really hard to tell.
I just don't know why. Like, why was that necessary? Did they just not have any male actors, native male actors?
I
at the
doubt
time?
they had a hard time finding it. But the thing is I don't speak Crow or Cheyenne, but they had those actors speaking Crow and Cheyenne.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah, that was
there's probably
Like
nuances in the languages that they ain't saying, like gutturals or something, but it's still good.
If this had been made in 1990 instead of 1980, which it's kind of, they didn't get a bunch of big name actors anyway, so they could have pulled it off, especially I think.
Yeah.
But if this had been 1990 instead of 1980, you'd have like Graham Greene, Gordon Tootoosis. You would have that whole crowd, and that all kind of changed. I want to say with
Dances with Wolves.
Well, not even Dances with Wolves. Before that, even with why can I not think of it? Long Stockings. Eastern. Why can't I? Drums? No, not Drums Along the Mohawk. Last of the Mohicans.
Oh, okay. That came after.
Did it come after?
Yeah.
Well, it came after this one.
Last of the Mohicans was like late 80s, early 90s, or mid 90s, wasn't it?
I don't know if it came before or after Dances with Wolves.
I think it came after.
I think it's after, yeah.
Yeah, it very well could have been. But, you start picking up a lot more of those native actors then. But
you could just tell, though. You could see somebody's face and tell that that's just a white dude with a bunch of makeup on.
They could have.
It's really obvious.
What I would have liked
to see. They could have got people that looked more native.
Franklin Horst said Hollywood hated the Crow because they forgot about the Comanche. What I would have liked to see, and I don't even know if it was possible in 80, was the age would have been perfect for Jay Silverhills to have played that character. I don't even know if he was still alive, but that would have been awesome. Jay Silverhills, Tonto?
Yeah, I've heard of him. Never really watched anything about him, or any of his movies.
He played some in the 60s and 70s in a couple of movies. I think he played Chief Joseph maybe in a Disney like cheap movie once about Appaloosas. But he was all right. I think he could have played that role. So they were there, but
Oh no! The movie was playing and those boys found that horse and that one grabbed that lead rope and that horse took off, so he went flying with it.
Yeah, that was when I sent you the timestamp that said you at work.
Okay.
Just Sheldon bored at work.
Oh man, I'm so tired of those horses.
So anyway, I'm gonna have to go here pretty quick, guys. I gotta go.
Yeah, I gotta go too.
All right.
But so I think, what did you didn't give it a rating on this, Snapper? What do you think?
I would give it I would say 5.
Yeah.
I would give it a better. It's just, I don't know why it bothers me so much, because it shouldn't matter, right?
Buc-ee's and 7-Eleven. Because I mean, now if we use this scale from now on, certain movies are gonna we know. I'm gonna be.
Yeah, this is a good scale. Gas station scale is a really good scale. I mean,
that 10
especially in the world I live in.
I would even put Josie Wales as a 9 because
I would say I would actually put Josie Wales as an 8. And the reason I would put 8 is just because it's my favorite movie, so I know I'm biased. So I had to give it one click down just because of my biasness.
Yep.
The guns aren't the walkers aren't correct, but it's possible. It just seems to me that them going out of their way to track a guy down all the way in Texas at this time doesn't seem realistic to me.
Could be. Even movies like Costner's Wyatt Earp. If Duke was here, he would give it a 6. I'll give it a 9 just because there's only one thing wrong, and that's the wrong musket arrow holster at one point.
Honestly, God, I thought that was one of the better ones out there.
Duke's going to be like 7-Eleven in the trash can.
It's it's a number 1.
Got to get the key.
There was 6 stitches when there should have been 7. Yep.
You got to go in and ask for the key to use the outdoor restrooms. Pumps don't recharge. You have to go in and prepay. That's what Duke's going to rate that movie because it had musket arrow style rig in it. But anyway, a couple people wrote in here. Kevin Conway said there would be a black guy playing the native guy in the woke version. Yeah, I think very well could have been. Couldn't tell because the makeup was so thick on a couple of them.
I honestly think that if they would, I'm not a big fan of them remaking movies, but I think this would be a good candidate to be remade because it's all natives and it's a whole native story. There's besides the Capote, there's not a single reference to white people being in the area.
Who do you pick?
Yeah, but if they remade it now, one of those characters is going to end up being trans. Saying. Just saying.
I don't know. I don't know that that'd be the case. It's kind of turning around a little bit nowadays, but
I hope so.
especially
really tough.
if they make this, the group of guys that they're going to get to make it would have to be like right there around Sheldon. A lot of them, and they pulled off Horizon without any of that junk in it. So
that is true. That is true.
All right,
Like
Sheldon.
the most thing they could probably do is add. I don't know how the Cheyennes and the Crow were.
Oh, the
But back then, yeah, you had the two spirits, and they were kind of a matchmaker, I guess.
Yeah, it was a weird thing though. It's kind of
So-
like it's kind of what one professor say. For every student nowadays that writes, there have been, what did he say? He's like, there have been 1,000 essay papers written on two spirits more than there ever were two spirits.
Yeah, because like Black Elk and them, they say they like it was rare for there to be one.
Mm-hmm.
So, like they could include that if they want to include something like that to make it, good for the times. But if they just not scene for scene remake from the original, they could just omit it, not worry about that. Not everything needs to be sexualized. Just
Exactly.
just basically remake it as is. You can make Wes Studi the grandpa because he's at that age.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say Wes Studi play excellent.
You can have Graham Greene be the grandpa and Wes Studi be the
Graham
the
Greene
evil
plays. Graham Greene plays the daughter's the wife's dad.
Yeah.
I don't know what
It's like they could probably pull out what's his name, Rodney Grant out of retirement, whatever the hell he is.
Who?
I think this would be a good
Rodney
candidate.
Grant. Rodney Grant. I think that's his name. He plays wind in his hair.
The brothers at the age that they were played here, which is in their 40s, probably they look like they're in their mid 40s. I would grab Adam Beach and Eddie Spears to play the brothers.
I think one of the Spears brothers would. I think that if you get both Spears brothers, Michael and Eddie, they could pull it off.
Oh yeah, I never thought of that.
Because they look
because
they both are similar.
Adam Beach is Evil Eye.
Yeah.
He's not quite old enough, but
like I said, they could have I don't know. It's just like they could remake it with majority of native actors. It would probably be good because nowadays that it showed like how popular Reservation Dogs was, and it's like they could remake it and push it because that's something, and push it more to be more authentic. None of this Hollywood mysticism that kind of screwed up native culture. We don't need the White Snake, Guns N' Roses vision of the dead wife.
Oh, you don't need but that kind of is the only thing that like draws him back at the end. But I guess it could be done better.
It's like they could remake.
I mean, he was like, I could leave now, but I need that White Snake style, Guns N' Roses, in the woods with all the mist. That's the only thing that's going to make me leave this horse and leave this earth.
Yeah, it's like I
understand it.
They could remake it, and do look. This is from the '80s, but almost like majority of the language is Crow and Cheyenne. They could do that again, especially now because there's more push for the tribes to learn their languages.
Yeah,
and this would have been something really good. It would be a good candidate to be remade and just a little bit better.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you there.
Yeah,
and I think that. Whereas we don't want to see a lot of white westerns remade because they tell the story completely different.
Yeah.
This one, they wouldn't. I mean, if you remake it, like you said, almost scene for scene, there can't be any wokeness in it because that enemy's not there.
Yeah.
Right.
So, there could obviously be, but I don't see how.
Don't find a way.
Like they could make the camps bigger and make it a little bit more authentic and whatever.
Yep.
I would love to see an authentic, native side of like a really good authentic native side of the Battle at Little Bighorn.
The only thing is,
I
do not. Okay, so when you see the Spears brothers, I don't want to CG in fight scene. They can have stunt doubles, whatever, but they got to have shields, they got to have clubs, and it's got to be a real horse to horse duel. That's I literally think they had that scene in mind and they built the rest of the movie around it because it's just so good. It's so good.
It is a really good scene. And it's just stuff like that you want to see. I mean, especially as a native, is you want to see the intertribal warfare. You just don't want to see Indians fighting white guys all the time. It gets a little boring. You want to see the intertribal warfare, and you want to see the differences even amongst Lakota and Cheyenne, because even though we were allies, there was still the occasional fights.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like you just want more of the intertribal and just more of that. I mean,
want to see something different.
Like this book.
Yeah.
Red was the blood of their forefathers.
I would recommend this book because apparently I stopped a quarter of the way through and stopped reading it. Apparently, but that quarter has a lot of good stories, and especially if you're into just the things you don't think of being on a battlefield. Like in that, it talks about Cheyenne having a chainmail shirt.
Cool.
And whole fights is done.
Definitely
with
possible.
Muskets. It was possible.
Definitely possible.
Whole fights with trade muskets, and that's like early 18 teens to 18 teens is I think is the oldest story, and then goes up until the final days. But it's like stuff like that is good. Like you could probably remake this Windwalker as like a stepping stone and push it because now you have that Harjo.
Mm-hmm.
Who made, and then you have like Mark Ruffalo, who's big in backing native entertainment. And you have Dallas Goldtooth. He could play an actor,
mm-hmm.
Or he could play a native in this movie, and he has a lot of strong native features. It's like
Russell Means Jr.
I mean, I thought you'd say that. Means is kind of the one. Yeah. It's like nowadays it is going to be a little hard to find 100% authentic looking natives for the movie, but you can push it
and the thing about it is that would be the perfect candidate because even if a lot of the actors today are Lakota, I know there's some others, but they're playing the northern Indian tribes between the Crow and the Cheyenne, Lakota. It's closer. So it does fit the people of the era.
I think the oldest war shirt in existence now is a Blackfoot shirt from the 1820s because the rest of them either got burnt up or just rotted away.
Yeah.
But I think getting if you were to remake it, just to even have Michael Badhand come in and be supervisor on a lot of the costumes.
I bet he'd make an appearance. He'd make a cameo.
Yeah, he can be the grandpa.
Hey, there's your Evil Eye.
Right?
He'd pull it off. He could pull Evil Eye off. He has and he's about the right age.
Yeah, it's just like this movie's just if they remade it, because nowadays if you say, hey, come watch, tell natives to watch this, they're going to start laughing because the second they see the grandpa, they're going to start laughing. Or even the grandpa as a young person, and even Tashina, even though that's kind of
they're white.
Yeah, but you can put some makeup on, but it ain't going to make you look like it.
At the same time, it's leaps and bounds better than the 50s native movies. But it's better than Burt Lancaster playing Massasai or whatever, which I still like that movie. We might have to review that someday.
I think it's been a long time since I watched it, but Cheyenne Autumn was, if I remember, it was pretty good.
We'll have to do that one. And I actually thought about that, but I don't want to do it without Duke.
Yeah.
Because he has a lot of input on that. And I love Cheyenne Autumn. They could take that whole, much as I love Jimmy Stewart, if they just remove that whole Jimmy Stewart section from that movie, it would be way better. So much better. But anyway, I think we said everything we can say about it.
Yeah. 7. We'll go on the average of altogether a 6 out of 10 on the gas station scale on the average out of all three of us.
Yeah, I would say that'd be perfect.
What's a 6 out of 10 gas station, Snapper? Casey's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Casey's. All right. Casey's. So let me get through the last few of these comments, and then we'll wrap it up because I got to go rake some hay.
Okay.
Let's see. Just having fun said I read there was the eruption of Mount St. Helen disrupted the production. Oh, that's interesting.
I didn't know that.
By Landon C said for a measurement of campiness, you could use the Remo Williams scale. Franklin Moore said, I loved Remo Williams. I even read the books that were never made into movies. Louisiana Gray said, good show, guys. Thanks for bringing us along. Dwayne Harshaw said, hey, Garrett, I've been watching your episode on the CVA mountain rifle. I got one as well. Great rifle. Yes, they are good. You can't see it probably, but it's up there. Franklin Moore said they should make a movie about making spaghetti westerns. Okay, for some people. I'm not a spaghetti western guy that much myself. So I think
I like
come
my
over
spaghetti westerns.
They're making spaghetti westerns just about the same time as they were making Josie Wales here in America. Now, which one's the better movie, Snapper?
Oh boy, let's not talk about. Well, I love my spaghetti westerns. I am a a good, bad, the ugly, a few dollars more kind of fan myself. But boy, I do love Josie Wales.
I just noticed that the guy wearing a capote in this is a native.
Who's wearing a capote?
One of the crows, and he actually is a native actor.
Oh, cool. Well, it's not. You can't say that they didn't have any contact with Hudson Bay at that time. So, is it a Hudson Bay point blanket? Ish.
I think at that time Hudson Bay was. I don't know much about Hudson Bay. I know capotes were around because they're like the East Coast ones and up to the Great Lakes. They were making them, wearing them, but.
Well, I definitely know that Hudson Bay was already dealing with the Blackfeet at that point, but they were dealing exclusively with the Blackfeet because the Blackfeet, if they tried to get any of the tribes further south, they sent one guy down to do business talks with I think it was the Crow, and he was trying to get through the mountains there where the Blackfeet were. He was a Hudson Bay courier, and the Blackfeet caught him, cut his head off, and sent it back to Hudson Bay and said, "Don't do business with the Crow."
Well, I know there was a English trader on the Missouri River, in north or south. I think they said it was in South Dakota, early 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
Said he made his little cabin out of rotten logs, but that burnt down or something like that. But so there was traders coming through, and then you had the inter-tribal trade.
Yeah.
So like you trade a bunch of stuff, like the Blackfoot would trade a bunch of stuff to the Hudson Bay, and then their excess they'll go trade it with another tribe, yada yada yada. So
Hudson Bay gas station blanket, yeah. I don't think we knocked
Hudson
the
Bay
movie
gas station
just because we can't. I mean, it may not be common, but I don't think you knock the movie for having it because it is possible. It feels like. So anyway, all right, guys, I want to go ahead and shut this down. Okay. Anyway, we'll talk to you guys later. Sheldon, you don't have to jump right off, by the way.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. We won't be doing this every live stream, but we'll try to do one every once in a while just to change things up. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So,
me too.
Trusting God, keep powder dry. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.